Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Max24, and for those of you who don't know, I love Marvel. I've loved the MCU ever since I sat down to watch Iron Man 1. I've loved Marvel in general ever since the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, ever since the X-Men series. I love me some superheroes. And Marvel has made a lot of movies in the past year, like a lot. And they're not all amazing. Some of them are alright, some of them are kind of bad, but overall, they've been a great time. But with movies, everyone likes for people to sit down and rank them all. Everyone's got their own rankings of these movies, and right now, I'm going to share with you guys my ranking of the second phase of Marvel. The MCU is split up into multiple phases. I did a phase 1 ranking, which kickstarted it all. Phase 2 is the second phase, of course, in the MCU, and this is when they started experimenting a little bit more. And then phase 3, of course, is the big one everybody remembers, and in phase 4 we are currently in. So if you're interested in any of those movies and what I think about them, please stay tuned for the amazing phase 2 ranking. Before we get to that, please drop a like, comment, subscribe to the fans, and all that fun stuff. All you guys tell you guys to do. Follow me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I upload most on Twitter and TikTok. So now on Facebook, barely on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook, subscribe to me here. And with that, let's rank phase 2 of the MCU. So phase 2 to me is probably my least favorite of the phases, alright? There's some great movies in here, but overall, it was just an alright phase. Now, some people say phase 4 is the worst. What happened to phase 4? Obviously, you guys don't remember phase 2 and just the quality of movies we got during phase 2. Again, there were some really good movies in phase 2, but there's also some pretty mid-tier MCU films, and maybe one that's pretty much outright bad. But we're just going to jump right into the rankings. So first up, I'm going to go with Thor: The Dark World. Now, nobody remembers Thor: The Dark World. Nobody remembers it at all. This is the movie that really made Marvel think, hey, we have to reshape Thor as a character, and that is why they brought Taika Waititi in for Thor Ragnarok. Thor: The Dark World, not a good movie at all. All right, it's bland, forgettable. I don't even know what to say, like, nice to say about it. Loki and Thor are great in it, all right? Great dynamic. As always, Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston are fantastic in those roles, and that's the best part of this movie. Everything else is not very good, all right? Malekith, super boring villain. The entire, like, convergent storyline, what is going on here, huh? Jane Foster, kind of boring in this film. It's just not a lot of things. There's like one or two scenes that are like, okay, that's cool. When they kill off Thor's mom, all right, and then we see Loki's reaction, okay, all right, I'm with you on there. But everything else about this movie is like, huh? What are we doing here, MCU? What is this? This is the second outing for Thor that you thought this would be the route to what is going on? Seriously, I don't remember like anything about this movie besides the fact that there's an Infinity Stone, so that made it pretty much very important for Infinity War and Endgame. But the whole plot, the colors, the story, everything, the characters, it's boring. It's a snooze fest, okay? If people think Thor: Love and Thunder is the worst one, they have not seen Thor: The Dark World in a little while. Next up, I would say Avengers Age of Ultron. This is the second Avengers movie, fresh off of the amazing first time we saw all the characters together. It was such an iconic film. And this film had to do a lot. One, it had to meet those expectations. Two, it had to set up the future of the MCU. And three, it just had to tell a story that warranted all these Avengers coming together. Because one of the big problems with the MCU and just cinematic franchises on a whole, and comics too, is why are these characters sitting out these big world-ending events, all right? Thor: The Dark World, why weren't the characters involved? So Avengers Age of Ultron had to come up with some reason why the characters are involved again, and I think overall, this film, it does what it needs to do, but nothing really more than that, all right? It's not up to par with the Avengers, it's not up to par with the next two in the franchise. It's very much a setup film / reconnecting with these characters. Now, this is really the only Avengers movie that we actually see the Avengers as a team, all right? We don't really see them as a team in the first Avengers because that's when the team is being built, so they don't really know each other. We don't really see them as a team in Infinity War because they are split up due to the events of Civil War, and then by Endgame, there's half of them aren't even there anymore. So this is the only time we really get to see them as a team and their team dynamics, and that part is really great about Avengers Age of Ultron, all right? Seeing like the dinner scene, them all sitting around, having a fun time, drinking, trying to hold up a hammer, that's all fun and interesting to watch. But The overall Age of Ultron plot and just everything that was going on, not so much. On one hand, they're trying to tell a story involving Tony Stark and his PTSD and him wanting to build this suit of armor around the world so that the Avengers are no longer needed. That's interesting. That's a good dynamic. Bruce Banner getting involved. Sure, he's a crazy scientist too. Sure, all right. But then on the other hand, they want to tell a story that's setting up future MCU, all right? With Scarlet Witches, this is her first introduction, and her little, like, mind game she's playing, hint then at the future of the MCU. Like, all right, seeing all the characters dead, seeing the Infinity Stone, seeing all of that stuff. We get to see some of Black Widow backstory. So they're trying to set up the future of the MCU while also telling a story solely in this realm. And I just don't think those two mesh together very well. Like, Thor goes off on his own little personal journey. They all come to Hawkeye's farm. Like, that just doesn't seem really to mesh with the rest of the story, and it just seems kind of out of place. But overall, it was a decent film. Next up, I would say Ant-Man. Ant-Man, it's good. It's a good film. It's just, I mean, not like super memorable as a film in the MCU, in the franchise. All right, Paul Rudd, he's great. He's a great addition to this franchise. He's funny. He's just knows what he's doing. He's just having a ball. The character, it's a stupid character if you think about it, but that's what makes it work because Paul Rudd realizes it and he just has a ball with it. All right. The plot, it's very low stakes. It's not this world-ending crisis. It's not this, oh my gosh, if we don't stop the bad guy, we're all gonna die. No, he's simply taking the PIM particle, the PIM technology, and selling it off to Hydra and people. That's all he's doing. We don't know what's going to happen with that. So it's not like this humongous. It's simply a heist movie in the MCU. Now, I love that addition. I think it really sets this film apart. But at the same time, when you look at the greater MCU, it's not super memorable of a movie. It's our first introduction to Paul Rudd's Ant-Man. But overall, I don't really remember the villain's name. I don't really think that anything happening in here has a later impact, especially for like Ant-Man 2. Nothing happening here really connects to Ant-Man 2 in any way. So it's just it's a nice origin story. It's different, but it's just not overall super memorable. Now, some of the action scenes and stuff I really liked. All right, like the Thomas the Tank Engine scene, really funny. But again, it's an introduction. It's an origin film. It's a good origin film, but later down the line, it's pretty forgettable. Next up, I want to say Iron Man 3. Now, Iron Man 3, it's a really good film. I like this film a lot more than other people. It's a nice closing chapter for the Iron Man trilogy. It's dealing with the PTSD after the Avengers, and I think that makes total sense. I mean, Tony Stark, he's not this hero. He's not this intergalactic traveler, but in the Avengers, he literally flies through a wormhole with a nuke. He's caught into this humongous battle for life and death. New York City is on the brink of destruction, and he risks it all, and he does all this stuff. And of course, a man like him is going to suffer from it. And you see that in Iron Man 3, and I think that was all really, really well done. And I thought Robert Downey Jr. was at the top of his game here. Now, there's some criticism around the villain, and I understand that. I don't think the villain of the extremist, the real Mandarin, I don't think is interesting. Now, the original Mandarin, the Ben Kingsley Mandarin, I thought he was super intimidating. I was totally on board with him. I was like, oh my gosh, this dude's wild. He's shooting people on camera. Oh my gosh, Tony Stark just threatened him, and now they come and blow up his house. That is awesome. That is, oh, cool. And then the twist reveal of that Ben Kingsley is actually playing a man named Trevor, who's an actor pretending to be the Mandarin, and then this old enemy of Tony Stark is actually the main villain, and he's got like these super glowing powers, and yeah. I didn't love the twist. I didn't hate it though. I think Trevor was really funny, and I think it was a really, funny way to do a twist like that, just the reveal and everything about that. However, the guy that replaced him, the extremist guy, the glowy guy, I don't think he's interesting at all. I don't even remember his name. I didn't care about him one bit. And then the third act was great. I loved the third act, seeing all these Iron Man suits flying in. However, you see them get broken a lot, and it just kind of makes the Iron Man suits seem very, very disposable, which I don't know. And then the big end resolution of Tony Stark blowing up all his suits is immediately undone by the time of Avengers Age of Ultron, and him taking out his heart, immediately undone. So I think it was a great closing chapter for the Iron Man trilogy. However, in the greater MCU, it doesn't have really any effects, because again, it's all undone by Avengers Age of Ultron. And then the Ben Kingsley as Trevor twist was funny, but it took what could have been a really interesting villain and turned him into a villain I don't even remember the name of. So the next movie I would say is Guardians of the Galaxy. This was just crazy. All right, it was, nobody thought this could have been successful. Okay, the MCU is adapting the Guardians of the Galaxy. Who even are the Guardians of the Galaxy? James Gunn is directing. What is this? And we were all blown away, and I'm still blown away, because this movie is just fun. All right, it's got a fun, great, charismatic cast, a very unique set of characters, and it's just a sci-fi adventure. All right. And we get to further learn about Thanos and Thanos' daughters, and we get to see an Infinity Stone for the first time in the flesh. And it's just, it's a, I don't even know what to say about it. It's just so good. The music, the acting, the action, the story, it's just downright a fun time. All right. I love this film. All right. I think if Phase 2 had things like this all the time, this would have been a great phase, but the majority of Phase 2 has a lot of problems. I don't really have a lot of big problems with Guardians of the Galaxy. Sure, the villain and Ronan the Accuser, he's kind of bland, but I think the film really makes up for that with the characters and the action and the story and the music and everything about that. I don't think you really need to have a really strong villain if you have a really strong cast of characters, and it's just a fun time. It was a great introduction to these characters. They were a nice, new, weird introduction to the MCU that completely changed the landscape of the MCU, because before we were just on Earth with these, and, you know, we had a space Viking god, but before we were mostly just on Earth with these Earthbound adventures, and then we went full sci-fi, and it was just, the series never looked back, and I loved it. All right, Guardians of the Galaxy, loved it, cannot wait for Volume 3. And then I think the best Phase 2 project that we got was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. All right, this film is simply an amazing time. It's probably one of the best MCU films we've ever gotten. It's a fantastic sequel to Captain America, and just the implications it had for the greater MCU was just, I loved it. I loved this film, all right? It's a spy thriller that really deals with a lot of big events. I mean, this is the film that we learned that S.H.I.E.L.D. is not S.H.I.E.L.D., but it is Hydra, and that has major implications, because S.H.I.E.L.D. was this team that we had connected with. We had connected with them throughout the MCU, so up to this point, all right? Nick Fury, Maria Hill, Coulson, we're all strong members of S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow, Hawkeye, they were all major players in this organization, and then to realize that, oh, this organization was built on top of Hydra is just a huge revelation that had huge impacts for all these characters. The introduction of Winter Soldier, he was great in this, all right? The dueling he does with himself in his mind, and he recognizes Captain America, but he has to fight Captain America. It's just wild. Captain America's pursuit to do the right thing, to save his friend, it's so well done. The great action in this, right? The elevator scene, all the helicarriers, it's great. The introduction of Falcon, this film's fantastic, all right? It's a fantastic entry to the franchise, and the villain was actually interesting, all right? And he posed an interesting question, and, you know, it was a great Captain America film. It was a great MCU film, and if you have not seen this film in a little while, you should go back and rewatch it, because it's, But yeah, that is my ranking for the MCU Phase 2. Let me know your ranking down below. There's some pretty good movies in here, but there's also some pretty subpar MCU films, some of the lowest MCU films that we've gotten in this phase as well. This phase was trying new things with, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man and stuff, but it was also playing it safe with other stories, and I just don't think some stories really worked out very well, and I don't think they also really had quite nailed down the balancing of tone that you see later. So, you know, it was definitely a growing phase, kind of like how Phase 4 is a growing phase. Phase 2, I felt like, was a growing phase as well. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know your ranking of Phase 2 in the comments below. Let me know if there are some films that you like that I did not. Like, let me know if I am horribly wrong about Avengers Age of Ultron or Thor the Dark World and it was like a cinematic masterpiece. I don't think it's going to be, but let me know if you think it is. And please like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, you know, all just other YouTubers tell you to do. Follow me on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I upload on Twitter and TikTok, sometimes Facebook, barely on Instagram. Follow me, subscribe to me here. And with that, I hope to see you in the next video.